Hey folks, today we're going to take a look at a game that is currently seeking funding on Kickstarter. That game is called Beyond Humanity: Colonies, and it's from the company Three-Headed Monster Games. Now, if you like what you see throughout the rest of this preview video, I'm going to encourage you to go to the official Kickstarter project page to find out even more information than I could possibly tell you here. You can do that by following the link in the top corner of your screen, as well as down in the description section underneath this video. Go there, find out whatever you need to know about the game to inform your decision, and hopefully you will consider backing the project. Now, Beyond Humanity: Colonies is either a semi-co-op or cooperative or fully solo game where you are building a colony on a brand new planet. You and the other players are actually managers in charge of running the new colony, or hope to be in charge of running the new colony that you're building, and you're trying to get away from the evil Terran government that was very oppressive to you and do your own thing out here on the frontier. How the game actually works is through worker placement elements where you and the managers, each which have their own unique setups and special cards and things like that, will actually put your tokens out in order to do different actions and influence the colony and helping to build it and shape it and keep it running properly. Which all sounds pretty interesting in and of itself, but that doesn't even scratch the surface of what's really interesting about the game. What's really interesting about the game is it is fully integrated with an app for the gameplay. But even more than that, the app is not just like something keeping track of numbers. It actually connects two pieces on the board, the pieces and modules representing your colony. You'll start off with one important colony module called the Ark, and from there you will build corridors that connect to other modules, each of which is different and unique and has a different effect on the colony. All of which is tracked with the app, together with special cards that are tracked with the app, and just lots of different things. And so, I'm not going to go too much further here. I'm going to actually show you what I can with a prototype copy of the game. So this is very important to keep in mind that what you see in this version of the game, which is just in Gamma right now, may change in the final version. It will show you the basics of what they're going for, how everything's going to work and integrate together, but obviously the final version will be even more polished and things will look more final. But hopefully this will give you a taste of what it's like. But of course, this is why you must go to the Kickstarter page to find out even more information about what's coming up. But in any event, this will give you some idea. We'll take a look, then we're going to come back and discuss it further. Beyond Humanity: Colonies is a semi-cooperative worker placement game for up to 5 players. It can also be played fully cooperatively or solo. Players represent high-ranking colonists known as managers who are attempting to guide their fellow colonists in setting up a colony on a harsh new world. You'll work together to build new modules for the colony, such as living areas and utility buildings, all while managing your resources, enduring hardships, and attempting to attain your own personal goals as a manager. But what makes the game so unique is a companion app that you'll use together with the game, as well as the chipped game pieces that connect to it. To set up the game, make space in your play area for what will eventually become your thriving colony, or use a game mat to indicate this space. A large special game piece known as the Ark module is placed in the center of this space as the beginning of your colony, but it's more than just a placeholder, as we'll discuss in a moment. Somewhere near the Ark module, place the Ark board. This board has action sockets which you will activate with your managers during the game. Similarly, near the board, you'll make a stock of both the other colony modules and the tiles that come out with them when they're built. Corridor pieces are also kept nearby, which will be used to electronically connect the smaller modules to the Ark and to each other. You should also have a voting tile placed nearby to remind you and the other players of how many votes you need to accrue to build a new module based on the number of players, and don't worry, we'll get to all that. Shuffle and place nearby a deck of decree cards, which have useful effects you can use during the game, and note that they are all chipped, and also place a shuffled deck of artifact cards. Nearby, make a face-up line of assistant cards that can be purchased during the game, which can give you additional actions. Make stocks of the game's 3 resource tokens: credits, Terran goods, and political advantages. Finally, we get to the player's individual setups. Either randomly or by choice, each player will take a tile representing their manager. The manager determines what group you will be supporting, if any, like the Marines, scientists, colonists, etc. Which special modules will be added to the base module stock, like the hangar bay, laboratory, prison, dome, etc. And which assistant cards are going to be used in the game. Together with that, you'll take a private directive card, which you may be able to use later for a special effect, 2 decree cards from the deck, 2 credits and 1 Terran good, and a set of private goal cards, if you're playing the semi-cooperative mode. You have access to 1 unique goal card for your manager that's worth 30 points, and you'll draw 4 common goal cards worth 10 or 20. From this total hand of 5 cards, you'll discard down to 3, keeping both your discards and your new hand secret from the other players. You don't have to keep your unique goal, because it is very hard to accomplish, and you don't have to use goal cards at all in the fully cooperative mode. Finally, along with your manager board, you get a manager token, which actually has a chip in it that connects electronically to the Arc Tower, as you'll see in a moment. Along with that, whoever has the highest number on their manager board gets the Governor token to determine player priority. You may now begin the game. And at this point, you need to start up the app, which is easy to download and update as needed. Also, make sure that the Arc Tower is actually turned on, as indicated by the green lights that come on near the top of it. You'll choose the type of campaign that you want, solo, cooperative, semi-cooperative, or, in the future, specific thematic scenarios, and then you'll choose a randomized planet type and difficulty setup for your colony, which you can cycle through until you get one that you want. The difficulty ranges from very easy to very hard, and if you're playing the fully cooperative mode, you should not choose any of the easy mode planets. Each planet type has its own unique challenges that the app will keep track of during the game. After that, you'll need to choose a fleet from 3 random choices that you can't cycle through. The choice of fleet will give some kind of special bonus to your colony. Next, you'll register your managers. Take the manager chip you were given and place it on top of the Arc. It will automatically register that manager into the app. Do the same for every player, and then hit start. The game officially begins, and the app begins with a status screen for your entire colony, and you'll refer to this a lot during the game. One panel has the happiness, security, and technical ratings. Another panel shows your gauges for power, life support, liquids, and gas. And yet another shows your population, both the total and breakdown by type. There's other panels as well, which we'll get to in a bit. Every round of the game is broken down into phases. We'll skip a few phases for the first round of the game since they won't come up yet. The first phase for the first round is actually player actions. In clockwise order, starting with the Governor, each player will take 1 action, and then go back around in the same order and take a second action. You have several options for what to do with that action. First, you can take your manager token and place it on an action slot, either on the main Arc tile or on any tile from the modules that you've actually built. These can give you resource tokens or allow you to take special actions. Taking an action slot means another player can't use it until the next go-around, when all of the manager tokens will be swept away. The exception is the large slot on the Arc tile itself, which allows multiple people to place tokens there in order to draw decree cards. If you'd like to take an artifact card, you can use action slots, but it takes quite a bit of work. First, you must acquire the correct amount of resources as indicated on the back of the artifact cards in the spot with the compass. This is the expedition action. Once you have those resources, put an action token on any slot with the expedition symbol, take the card face down, and immediately fill one of the 2 expedition research slots. Do it again with another action to fill the other slot, discard all the resources, and then move it into research. Do the same thing again twice, but this time using the research actions with different resources, and then you can reveal and potentially use the artifact card, which will also be kept as points for the end of the game if you're playing for points. You may also use an action to employ an assistant. This has 2 effects. First, every round after they've been recruited, you have an extra 0 action that you can perform before your other 2 actions. If there are multiple players who have assistants, then you still do them in order, starting with the Governor. Also, the assistant has an action slot that only you can use. But in future rounds, you will need to pay an upkeep cost in order to keep that assistant around. Alternatively to those actions, you can either put forth a vote to construct a new module or vote on a module that someone else has already submitted. If you've submitted a module for a vote, take the appropriate tile that matches one of the modules that's actually available in this game's stock and place it in front of everyone with a decree card from your hand placed underneath it, ignoring the text on the face of the card. If you're voting on an already submitted module, simply place another card on the tile. The threshold of votes you need to get construction started is the number on the green vote tile, dependent on the number of players, plus the number on the module tile itself. But don't do anything with them yet, even if you've got enough votes. When everyone has taken their second or third action, you move on to the next phase, where each player in order may choose to play one decree card, this time for its actual face effect. Read that effect out loud to the other players, and then swipe the chip on the decree card against the top of the arc. This will actually log it into the app, and you will also be asked to confirm which manager played it. So, for example, if the effect of the decree card would change your resources or colony status in some way, it will now be kept track of in the app. Green decree cards are also worth points at the end of the game, if that matters to you. The final phase of the round is construction. If you successfully voted for a module, you can now attach it to your colony. In the beginning, it must be attached to the arc, but later modules can attach to each other. You connect them with corridors, which have connectors on each end that attach to the appropriate slot on each end. If the arc is on and the module is attached correctly, it will light up. When under construction, it will flash green, but when finished in the next round, it will glow green like the arc. Meanwhile, the app will log the module and will also ask you to confirm which manager submitted the module for a vote. Remember, the app will keep track of how the building affects your colony, and sometimes placing certain modules next to each other can have either positive or negative effects, like placing a residential district next to an industrial zone, which is not really a good thing to do. After resolving this, you can proceed to the next round in the app. Previously started construction will be completed, and the stats of the new building will be applied in the app to your colony. Starting in the second round and every round after, players will have to pay the upkeep costs for their assistance and for any construction that a vote was started on but never finished. Then, the round continues as usual with the action phase. There are several other things that can happen during the course of the game that have perilous consequences. Life on the colony is hard, and if you run out of resources, have system failures, or the colonists are too unhappy for whatever reason, terrible events can occur. Low happiness and security in particular can lead to riots, which require you to have a sufficient security force to quell them. But if the riots continue into another round, the Marines will need to be called in to exterminate the rioters. And if that fails and the riots continue into a third round, the game will end in failure for you and the other players. Even if you're adding up points, they no longer matter. Similarly, if your technical rating is too low, different modules can suffer catastrophic failures. The lights on each module will glow or flash yellow or red depending on the severity of the situation. Furthermore, building and maintaining modules, resources, and populations require stock, the currency of the colony. If the population isn't large enough to prop up the economy with taxes, you may need to take out a Terran dependence loan, and if this happens too much, the game will end in failure as the Terrans effectively take over your colony. But assuming these things don't happen, the players can win the game collectively by either surviving for 20 rounds, which represents 20 months, building 15 modules, or getting at least 15,000 citizens. If you're playing the semi-cooperative mode and the colony didn't collapse, you'll add up the points from whatever goals or artifacts you were able to attain throughout the game, together with points gained for modules that you submitted, green decrees that you played, and so on. And then the player with the most points will win the game. That is Beyond Humanity Colonies. Well, yeah, I do have to make it clear again, I just scratched the surface of what this game is. Not just because this was a prototype copy of the game, but also because there's just so much going on with the game. This is like a fully fleshed out civilization building game in a way. You're building your colony and all of the different things that go along with that. Population, the happiness of your population, the technical aspects of the colony and keeping everything running. There's just so many different things. And yes, the app does keep track of those things, so you don't have to do a lot of math. but you do have to make a lot of decisions during the game. There were so many things I couldn't get to just for purposes of time, but hopefully that gave you some idea of just what the final game is going to be like, especially when you see all the different modules connected together electronically to the app, and all the different special abilities and powers that you can utilize, the artifacts, the decree cards, your own personal goals, things like that. And really it is innovative how, because there's other games that have apps, of course, but usually, I don't know if usually is the right word, but there's a lot of games that use apps just simply as keep track of this, keep track of these numbers, and that's it. Or maybe there's one or two things that you have to scan or something like that. Every aspect of this game is going to be kept track of and also utilized together with that app. And how it actually works with that Arc Tower is just very interesting. Scanning the manager chips, making sure everything is logged to your character, because that's very important for the end game. Making sure that the different modules are logged, and the decree cards that will affect them as well. Therefore, you can keep track of the population, the happiness, and everything. It really feels like this organic, system that is cycling through and keeping everything running smoothly. Well, hopefully running smoothly. And that's the thing, too, is that, yes, there is an app, and yes, that's keeping track of things, but again, the agency is yours. You have to make sure that things are running. You have to make sure that you're paying your upkeep. You have to make sure that you're playing the right decree cards, not just for your goals, because, again, you don't have to play the game semi-cooperatively if you don't want to. But whether you do or not, you need to make sure that colony is running smoothly. Your personal goals, even in a semi-co-op game, mean nothing if the entire colony fails. You can get as many points as you want, you will not win the game. So you need to make sure that maybe it's not in my best interest to build a residential dome right now, but we need a residential dome. We need more people and more taxes and things like that. So you might need to have to take an action to make sure that a building goes through. You may need to use an action to block a space from someone else, from them taking the action, in order for you to be able to take that action first, whether it's to further your own goals, or just even if it's in the colony's best interest, to make sure that you're the one that gets the credit for it, i.e. points, at the end of the game. So those are the kind of things you have to decide as you're playing along. There's other things too, because there's different avenues to both victory and success of the colony. Do you go for the artifacts? That's a real gamble, because you don't know what artifact it's going to be. You don't know if it's going to be one of the more powerful ones, one of the less powerful ones, whether it's points, whether that even matters to you in a particular game. But they could be a huge swing for you, but it's a ton of resources as well. Do you just focus on your own personal goals? You go for that unique individual goal, which is worth a ton of points, but can be very difficult to pull off, and the other players can know ahead of time, like, you're probably going to go for that. So if you're the Marine manager, you're going to try and consolidate your power with the Marines as much as possible. But hey, maybe they want that to happen because the Marines are going to be necessary as your last failsafe if riots break out and are not put down by the security forces. So, do you really want to interfere with that manager's plans just because it's worse for you, but it could keep the colony afloat? These are the kind of decisions you have to make throughout the game. And the fact that so that alone is very thematic. The fact that it connects together, literally and figuratively, to what's happening on the board and the app with all the different module pieces, which in the final version are going to look even more high quality, and it's all going to work together seamlessly. The fact that all of that connects together, literally and figuratively, really hits home the theme of what you're doing as much as any full-fledged video game. So, if you like the science fiction theme, obviously, building a colony, and all these different the sort of things you see in hard science fiction series, like rebel colonists having to be put down, and riots and things like that, the riots on Mars. If you like that kind of stuff, if you like light worker placement elements that are utilized throughout the course of the game, and sometimes being mean to other players and blocking them from taking certain actions, resource management, clever use of cards in different ways, and just having freedom in decision making at almost every turn. If any of those things appeal to you, then listen, you don't need to take my word for it. you can go to the official Kickstarter project page with the knowledge that you have now, find out even more information than I can tell you here, see what's coming in the future for this game, and consider, hopefully, backing the project. That is Beyond Humanity Colonies from Three-Headed Monster Games. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, for supporting our sponsors. Take care.